That's better. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our Advent Sunday service at First Unitarian Church of St. Louis. My name is Adam Lunter. My pronouns are he, him, and his, but I do answer to hey, you, as most of you know. See, there it is. I'm glad you could join us this morning, and we want to be sure to welcome any newcomers or visitors today. And if you're new to the congregation, please be sure to fill out a newcomer form found in the live stream description or in the lobby downstairs. We also invite you to join us after the service at 11:30 a.m. in the Dodson Room, just through the doors behind you on the right, for a newcomer chat with Reverend Kim. We especially want to welcome any families with children, and you can connect with our Director of Religious Education, Danielle Kozemchik, after the service. That's her. And we're happy to be with you today. And if you're attending online, hello, there you are. Okay. If you never noticed this, there's actually a red light you can follow to find out which camera is going. So it's over there, by the way. Hi, all. And again, if you're attending online, you can connect with each other in the chat. And don't forget that the link for virtual coffee hour can be found in your weekly e-news. We, of course, encourage you to take a moment now to send your joys and concerns. Limits of technology means that no matter how many times we refresh the response page, we inevitably miss a few submissions. So you can access the online joys and concerns form via the link available in your order of service in the live stream or with the QR codes in your pew or right there. A couple of quick announcements before we get into the festivities today. Today at 11:30 a.m. in the chapel is one of our active hope listening circles, where the members and friends are invited to share their thoughts on the role of social action in the congregation and what justice issues are important to them. Coming month of December is, of course, full of winter events at First Unitarian. This week on Wednesday, December 14th, is our Blue Holidays service at 7 p.m., and you are invited to attend in person in the Dodson Room or online via Zoom. And next Sunday, December 18th, is our children's holiday pageant. Very excited about that. 10 a.m. and our winter solstice observance will be that same day at 5 o'clock. And we hope you can join us for these very special and fun traditions. And finally, if you're curious about our live stream, we want to be sure to let you know there's a guy in the back room here, Mo. You don't see him very often, but he's working his magic to get us online every Sunday, and he needs support from us here in the congregation. No experience is necessary. You can help out just once a month. That's great. We will train you what to do. Just let Mo know or somebody in the office know if you're interested. Welcome to this religious community where we affirm the dignity and freedom of all who enter. Here, we seek to live together in relationship and respect so that we may embrace and celebrate our differences. Our religious values invite us to a shared journey of truth and meaning. Sincerity and connection guide our religious community and call us into a deeper association with ourselves and our world. Welcome. We're glad you're a part of our community this morning. Now, please enjoy our prelude, Let All Mortal Flesh Keep Silence, arranged by Roger Helvig and performed by Judy Meyer.
Good morning. I am the Reverend Kim Mason, she, her, hers, and I serve this congregation as your minister. The theme for the month of December is joy. We begin with these words from the Reverend Gretchen Haley. Come in, all who long to know how to love this world. How to keep eyes open, hands unclenched, arms wide, breathing deeply in and out. This is a time to practice joy, because there is still so much good and beauty and hope. It can be hard to keep telling this tale with the news and the wind and the rain and the trembling earth. Who wants to love this life? Come in, all who teeter on the edge of cynicism, broken-hearted and trying to remember laughter and kindness and the chance to be alive. There is so much at stake. Here in this place, we remind each other why we persist, give each other courage, because taking this path is not always easy. That is, to keep practicing love. This love, the love that cannot and will not let us go. This love that calls us onwards towards joy. Come, let us worship together. Please rise as you are willing and able, and join in singing our hymn of the month, number 1060, as we sing of hope and joy. The words are the insert in your order of service.
Today we light the third candle of Advent. The first candle was for hope, and the second for peace. And this week we celebrate joy. In this holiday season, may we find joy. It may be loud and outward joy, or sweet and inward joy. It may be tender and quiet joy, or exuberant and delightful joy. In whatever way that joy comes to you, may joy lighten your burdens and bring strength to our communities and to the world.
Check. I am the director of religious education and church communications. I always have to get that microphone right there. Okay. Read the story for all ages today. If any of the kids would like to come up, you can. We're going to read this. It is called The Little. It is by His Holiness the Dalai Lama and Archbishop Desmond Tutu. Sorry. Excuse us. Thank you, Mo. All right, let's start again. Oh, wow, I've got lots of kids up here. Oh, well, he's a friendly ghost, so he can hang out there if he wants to. He's not hurting anybody. So, yeah, we've got this book today, The Little Book of Joy. Do you guys know who the Dalai Lama is? Anybody ever heard of him? No, never heard of the Dalai Lama? All right. He is actually a spiritual leader for the Tibetan people, and he is the leader of Tibetan Buddhism. He's traveled the world to promote kindness and compassion, interfaith understanding. That's a big word. That just means people of different religions getting along. Hold on. I need your help. Can you come up right here? All right, there. There we go. Okay. So yeah, the Dalai Lama and Archbishop Desmond Tutu, who is, he was a leader for justice in South Africa. And the two of them are friends. They have kind of an unusual, wrote a book about it. And they also wrote this book about, well, it was a book for adults, but this is a book. So we're going to read it today, and it talks about finding joy during difficult times. Okay? Have you guys ever been through something difficult? Maybe a couple of things happened to you that were like sad or frustrating, and it was hard to feel happy and joyful. No? Kira's never experienced that. How about you? Yes.
I've lost my mom's friend who I really liked.
Yeah.
She was the only person who I had to talk about wrestling, and nobody else everybody else in the family thinks I'm speaking Spanish or something.
Okay, he lost his friend who he could talk about wrestling with. How about you, Amori?
I've been frustrated. Stop putting my head.
Sometimes he's frustrated.
I've been frustrated.
Well, this is the story of Desmond Tutu and the Dalai Lama when they were growing up. They grew up on different parts of the world. One of them grew up in a little house. Well, you can tell me your story when we're done. I'm telling this story. One of us grew up in a big house. So that's the Dalai Lama. And they grew up, their houses were on opposite sides of the world. Can you guys tell from that picture? Oh, we're not there yet. Can you tell from this picture where they lived? He was in India, the Dalai Lama, and Desmond Tutu was down here in South Africa. So they were very far from each other when they were young. Often they were sad and lonely, and they wished for a friend. But they didn't know each other yet. They didn't meet until they were older. Sometimes the other kids wouldn't let us play, or they were very far away. We wondered if we would always be sad and lonely. But when we sat still and breathed in the quiet, we noticed something beautiful. Have you guys ever sat still and just kind of, when you were outside, have you ever sat still? I heard you giggle. And you were outside and you saw. You only sit still when you're sleeping. That makes it really hard to meditate, I bet. Yeah. But that's what he's doing here. He's meditating and kind of trying to pay attention to what's around him. And he sees this beautiful butterfly, and he sees a flower, okay? So even though they're sad and lonely, they're still looking for beauty in the world, right?
You're on the wrong page.
I just turned the page, so you just got to give him, oh, okay, we're going to do this now.
Hey, Mo.
Hey, what's up?
Hello, hello. Hello. It's not working. Okay, I'm just going to be really loud, because I can be really loud, but if I'm loud,
Let me try. I think it's safer.
it's not going to work.
So,
If you just focus on the thing that is making you sad, then sadness is all you see. But if you look around, you will see that joy is everywhere.
Talk into the microphone I gave you.
Joy is the warm, tingly feeling of the sun tickling your toes in the morning. Joy is when the microphone warms. It's the giggly, squiggly feeling that you are doing something silly. What are they doing? Jumping on their bed? Yeah? Have you guys ever done that?
yeah. Yes.
Yeah?
I can't jump on my bed, it'll break.
Oh, well, yeah, let's not break our bed.
I saw this.
And it's the soft, snuggly feeling of being all wrapped up, cozy in your bed at night.
I can't jump on my bed because the fan's right up, like right. If I stand it up, it's like
Then you'll hit your head on the fan.
feet.
Mm-hmm.
Higher than me, so when I jump, I can always jump just a little, not have to jump.
Even when you are caught in the rain and your joy is washed away, it's waiting at the bottom of a puddle. Even if you slam the door and your joy can't get in, it's just on the other side, waiting in a loving hug. And even if there is a loud noise in the night and your joy gets scared away, it comes streaming right back with the light of the silvery moon. Joy is the bubbly, bouncy feeling of finding a good friend. And once you let joy in, whoop, now I have to juggle things. And once you let joy in, like your heart always has room for more. We discovered that the more joy we shared, the more joy we had. And the more joy we had, the more joy we could share. So look for the joy all around you and share it. write it in a letter, play it on a drum, sing it to the sky. It will travel up in the air, across the ocean, and someone will find it and share it. And as it spreads from person to person, the world will fill with joy. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and sing you guys out with this little light of mine, and we're going to go to our classes.
As a community, we hold one another through the cycles and seasons of life. Our strength is in supporting each other in times of joy and in times of challenge. Now is the time in our service when we connect with one another by sharing our sorrows and concerns. This week, we send healing thoughts to Claire Burge, who is recovering from injuries after a recent fall. And we send well wishes to Mike Nolan, who is also recovering from injuries caused by a fall. And we send our condolences to Grace Muni on the recent passing of a dear cousin. In our community, we share wishes of comfort for friends in North Carolina and San Grancino, who are grieving the loss of loved ones. We worry about the lack of care for the mentally ill. And we carry concern for siblings who are estranged. We hold these concerns with tenderness and compassion. May they be lighter because they are shared. As a community, we also share our joys with one another. This week, we celebrate a nephew who just became a homeowner and a niece who is expecting her first child. We celebrate the joy of cookie baking and baking together and sharing. We rejoice in the safe return of Brittany Griner from Russian imprisonment, and we pray for all of those who remain imprisoned overseas, that they may be safely returned as well. Hooray for the Respect for Marriage Act. We worry and celebrate for a daughter and son-in-law who have recovered from COVID, and from Helen Cataray, who has also recovered from COVID. We celebrate a house full of children and grandchildren for the holidays. And we share the joy of a successful program last week celebrating 18 months of work in the workforce inclusion space. We hold these joys with gladness and celebration. May they be magnified because they are shared. With many joys and concerns remaining unspoken in our hearts and minds, I invite you into a spirit of prayer and mindful presence. Spirit of life and love, holy within and among us, we lift up the joys, the tiny successes and the big accomplishments, the celebrations, the everyday milestones and the rites of passage. We rejoice together. Spirit of life and love, great mystery, We hold the concerns, the small worries and the major losses, the sorrows, the normal transitions and the significant changes. We mourn together. Spirit of life and love, source of joy, here we can rejoice as well as weep, speak of our pain and honor our happiness. In this community, joy gives us the strength to hold one another and ourselves with love. In the world, joy gives us the strength to create beauty and advance justice. May we always find sources of joy and openings to love. May it be so. Amen, and blessed be.
Our first reading is Joy Unspeakable by Reverend Barbara A. Holmes, an author and scholar of African American spirituality and mysticism. Joy unspeakable is not silent. It moans, hums, and bends to the rhythm of a dancing universe. For our free African ancestors, joy unspeakable is drum talk. For enslaved Africans during the Middle Passage, joy unspeakable is the surprise of living for one more day. For Africans in bondage in the Americas, joy unspeakable is the moment of mystical encounter when God tiptoes into the hush arbor. Joy unspeakable is humming How I Got Over after swimming safely to the other shore of a swollen Ohio River when you know you can't swim.
The First Unitarian Church of St. Louis strives to be a welcoming congregation, inspiring lives of loving kindness and integrity by nurturing spirituality, building community, and advancing justice. Your contributions support our mission and ministry in the St. Louis area and beyond. This morning's offering will now be received.
Birds flying high, you know how I feel. Sun in the sky, you know how I feel. Trees drifting on by, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me. And I'm feeling good. Fish in the sea, you know how I feel.
Well, we've been to church now, we can all go home. Woo! Thank you, Pam. Each year, the church building gets decorated for the holidays. Some of it happens at the hanging of the greens. The banners get hung, the tree gets decorated. However, all the windowsills and the centerpieces in Fellowship Hall and the Dodson Room decorations, all of those happen during the week, thanks to Jane Hokelman. For the gift of holiday beauty and your gifts this morning, thank you.
Pam, you're sitting there so docile right now. I just can't believe it. I'm sorry. I need another round of that. Can you, come over to the house? Oh my God. It was amazing.
Cookies and wine, yes.
Cookies, yes. Wine, no. Is half the pot good enough for? Half the song is fine. Our second reading is from Finding and Centering Queer Joy by Sassafras Lowry. Sassafras Lowry is an author, dog trainer, and winner of the 2013 Lambda Literary Emerging Writer Award. In recent years, there's been a lot of conversation about toxic positivity, a phrase to refer to the way that people, sometimes especially online, might use positivity as a way to minimize the suffering or hardship that others are experiencing. Toxic positivity is generally thought of as being disingenuous or performed happiness, denial, and minimizing, invalidating that hard or bad things are happening to others or in one's own life. I think the difference between centering joy and being toxically positive is about not trying to see the world through rainbow-tinted lenses or pretend that bad things aren't happening. Rather, centering queer joy is about making a conscious decision to find moments of joy, whenever and wherever you can, to celebrate the advancements of playfulness of LGBTQ plus culture, even as we recognize that hard work remains to be done to combat homophobic and transphobic discrimination. Finding queer joy is about finding ways to have your inner pride parade every day. It's about finding ways to celebrate your identity and uniqueness and that of our entire community. It's so easy to internalize the negative messages that we might hear on the news or the stereotypes we might see in mainstream media about who LGBTQ plus people are. Or just as harmfully, the absence of representation. To combat feeling invisible or marginalized, I like to find moments to always center the joyful, fun, creative, and empowering things I know exist about being LGBTQ plus and the LGBTQ plus community as a whole.
There she stood, hand raised in ecstatic joy, belting out her favorite hymn, "This Little Light of Mine." Fannie Lou Hamer. Mrs. Fannie Lou Hamer died almost 40 years ago, but strength and joy radiated from the statue at her gravesite in Ruleville, Mississippi. I was in Mississippi as part of a Living Legacy pilgrimage. a program designed and led by Unitarian Universalists that brings participants to the Deep South to visit historic civil rights sites and to meet and learn from those living civil rights veterans. Mrs. Hamer, as she was called, was the daughter of sharecroppers. She dropped out of school at the age of 13 to pick cotton. At the age of 45, during Mississippi's Freedom Summer, Hamer found her true calling as an activist and organizer. She was an impassioned speaker and frequently used music to inspire and motivate listeners. What Hamer, with her 8th grade education, knew is that joy was just as necessary in the fight for justice as passionate grief and righteous indignation. Psalm 30, verse 50 says, "Weeping may last for a night, but joy comes in the morning." Weeping may last for a night. It feels like we've been weeping for a while. We've cried for 2 years of pandemic and over 1 million US COVID deaths. We've cried for Black and brown people killed due to police violence. We've cried for people across the nation traumatized by gun violence. We've cried for national tragedies and environmental disasters. And we've cried here at home, too. We've cried for the friend recently diagnosed with cancer. We've cried over the death of a beloved pet and the loss of a job. We've cried about the impact of inflation on our ability to meet the needs of our family. We have cried. There are some that argue you cannot truly experience joy without first having experienced pain, that you can only reach one state because of your ability to contrast it with the opposite state. Sure, we gain some perspective, some deeper understanding through comparison, but by that argument, you can only experience pain if you have first experienced joy. So which comes first, the chicken or the egg, joy or pain? It is more accurate to say we experience both pain and joy, and it is joy that allows us to withstand the inevitable pains of life. Psychologist Thomas More talks about the long, dark night of the soul, a period that some encounter in their lives when they've lost a sense of meaning. He says, quote, "It's important to live through the dark night, acknowledge it, notice its qualities, be affected by it. At the same time, it is not useful to be too attached to it or to let it dominate. You don't want to be the hero who slays dragons and tries to obliterate the darkness. But you do need all the strength of heart you can muster. You do that with joy," he says. You can cultivate a love of life and joy in living that doesn't contradict the darkness. Because, Moore says, people are complex beings, capable of doing and experiencing more than one thing at a time. You can acknowledge the pain and find joy. Here we are again with the ministry of both and. Fannie Lou Hamer knew this. It was during Mississippi Freedom Summer that activists Michael Schwerner, Andrew Goodman, and James Earl Chaney were murdered and buried in a dam. It was during Mississippi Freedom Summer that Hamer herself was beaten for demanding voting rights for people of color. But it didn't stop her from joyfully belting out songs like "Go Tell It on the Mountain." Each time she sang, her songs were an act of joy. Claiming joy was an act of resistance. In killing Schwerner, Goodman, and Cheney, locals sought to scare voting rights activists. But claiming joy is saying, I will not be intimidated. Claiming joy is an act of asserting your inherent worth and dignity, your right to live fully in this world. You do not have to remain in the long, dark night. Hamer was celebrating a particular form of joy, Black joy. In an article for Vogue magazine, writer Shante Joseph explains Black joy. Quote, where society has told Black people to be quiet or that we're too loud, reveling in joy is an act of resistance. As our feeds become even more inundated with images of trauma, joy can help us heal. Unitarian Universalist minister, the Reverend Kimberly Quinn Johnson says, Black joy is, quote, the joy I have learned from Black people. It is the joy created through our collective healing, our laying down of burdens to be picked up and shared by our people, our community. This is not joy in spite of suffering, a mask put on to hide pain, an armor put on to push through. This is an embrace, holding and soothing us in our suffering. She continues, this Black joy is joy created through our being together. This Black joy reminds me that I am not alone, that trouble don't last always, that I am held and carried forward by a power beyond what I can comprehend. Black joy takes many forms. It can be music and dance. It can be poetry or prose. It can be activism, and it can be church. And it can be art, like the images shared this morning. It is the celebration of survival and the expression of inner strength and pride. Joy is a tool of resistance and resilience for many marginalized populations. In addition to Black joy, you can find movements for queer joy, disabled joy, deaf joy, just to name a few. Joy invites us to look beyond narratives of suffering and to celebrate difference. As a queer woman, queer joy reminds me to honor my own humanity and practice radical self-acceptance. Queer joy is being able to be fully and authentically myself in a world that has for too long narrowly defined love, relationships, sex, and gender. It feels a little risky to stand up here and talk to you about queer joy. Ministers are often advised against preaching about their own identity, lest we be accused of preaching on something only because it's personal to us. But y'all, it's all personal. I show up here with my heart every Sunday, just as I hope the rest of you do. It is from a place of tenderness and risk that I share with you today. Queer joy is personal to me. When I say queer joy, many people think of rainbows and gay weddings. And don't get me wrong, I like rainbows and gay weddings. Please let me perform your gay wedding. But when I say queer joy, I mean the first time you walked into a gay club and finally found your people, or got to wear the clothes that fully express your identity, or say the words that accurately described yourself and was seen, truly seen for the first time. That queer joy. Just as Black joy is resisting racism and white supremacy, queer joy is resisting bigotry and homophobia. Queer joy reminds me that I am not alone. I really and truly knew this in a way that I hadn't quite in the same way known before in the summer of 2016. On June 12th that summer, the Pulse nightclub shooting happened in Orlando, Florida. It was the Sunday before Pride celebration in Knoxville, Tennessee. It would have been easy to cancel Pride that year. But Queer Joy said, I don't think so. Knoxville Pride had an all-time record high attendance that year. Coming 1 week after the Orlando shooting, it was a display of love and acceptance and exuberant joy. Joy at being in community, joy at being able to love fully and authentically with freedom, joy at being able to live, joy at being alive in a time when not everyone has made it there with you. People needed the joyful welcome of being able to celebrate their whole selves after a week where queer folks were targets. The deaths in Orlando hadn't been forgotten that day. In fact, the parade began with a banner declaring Knoxville Pride stands with Orlando. And Pride Fest goers signed the banner throughout the day. Pride that year, just by showing up, was a protest, just like Stonewall. A protest against the beliefs and attitudes that fostered hate, that said it was okay to kill people because of whom they love, that said hate was okay. Walking down Gay Street in the parade, yes, the Pride Parade went down Gay Street, I carried a sign that day that said, "Not afraid." In retrospect, I think I was a little afraid that day, but joy gave me strength. In times of struggle and fear, joy holds us up. Our story for all ages today taught us that we can find moments of joy and space for celebration in the most difficult moments. Joy is an act of resistance. 2022 showed us that we need joy now more than ever. The Tops grocery store shooting in Buffalo showed us that Black joy is necessary. The Club Q shooting in Colorado Springs showed us that queer joy is necessary. Unitarian Universalists have a long history of working on civil rights for women and people of color, for immigrants and LGBTQ plus people, for disabled and unhoused people and other marginalized and oppressed populations. The Reverend Kimberly Quinn Johnson believes that as Unitarian Universalists, we too can and should claim joy. She said, "We are the people who commit to justice, equity, and compassion. We are the people who aspire to a world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all. We are the people who affirm our interdependence with each other and the universe itself." I want to challenge Unitarian Universalism and Unitarian Universalists to claim joy. If we are to continue to live into our Unitarian Universalist values, then joy is necessary. Joy gives us the strength to withstand loss and the courage to try again. The lessons of Black joy and queer joy are accessible to all of us. So where is it that you find joy? On my darkest days, I play Nina Simone's version of Feelin' Good, although I might have to substitute it with Pam's. Simone begins gently, "Birds flying high, you know how I feel. Sun in the sky, you know how I feel. Breeze drifting on by, you know how I feel." And by the end, she is joyfully belting out the chorus at the top of her lungs. It's a new dawn. It's a new day. It's a new life for me, and I'm feeling good. Joy comes. Joy comes. It comes in the morning. It comes in the evening. It comes in the small, quiet moments and the wild, celebratory ones as well. Joy comes. It's a new dawn. It's a new day. It's a new life. Find your joy. Stay strong and let your light shine. Please rise as you are willing and able, and join me in our closing hymn, a hymn about joy and strength, number 100, "I've Got Peace Like a River." Nita Penfold said, "No matter what they say, let it be about joy." In our mutual thriving, joy is both a cause and a result. We can celebrate joy. We can use joy to buoy us up. We can use joy to remind us why we love this world. So let it be about joy. Amen. Blessed be, and go in peace. Please stay for a special postlude. You really want to stay for this one. And then as your last act of worship, turn and greet your neighbor.